He was reincarnated into a fantasy world but ends up raising the goddess to be her wife, and becomes the strongest SS rank adventurer after creating a harem. Kelvin was an absolute loser who ends up getting eliminated by Truck Kun but is given another chance at life in an alternate world by a goddess named Melfina. He is dropped down into an empty forest where he finally wakes up beneath the tree not remembering anything about his past life. He gets confused about who he is and where he is, when a small menu appears in front of him and starts talking. The voice explains that he has been reincarnated into the world of magic and fantasy where he can become an adventurer if he wants. He checks his stats on the menu to find out that he has chosen a support class for himself and he is a summoner. He seems to be pretty happy about this and decides to go to the nearest town in order to join a guild to start adventuring. While walking through the forest, the menu screen reveals that she is actually the goddess named Mel herself. They enter the bustling town where Mel tells him about his lost memory by claiming that after dying he ended up choosing a lot of abilities, and alongside that he was able to riz Mel herself as well, and she decided to join him in this adventure. He asks why can't he see her, and she replies that he doesn't have enough mana points to do that. He then enters one of the guilds and one of the receptionists gives him a form to fill. While filling his abilities as a summoner, he is stopped by Mel who tells him not to do so, as the summoner class is extremely rare, and he is probably the only summoner in this entire kingdom. If this news is revealed, he might have to face trouble. He decides to put his abilities as a mage and soon receives his guild card. It denotes that he is an F-ranked adventurer as of now, and the receptionist claims that he needs to complete 10 quests if he wants to upgrade his rank. After that, the receptionist shows him a bunch of quests, and he decides to go after the slimes in the forest as he can try his summoning spells on them. Before that, he buys an old wooden wand with all of his remaining money and leaves for the forest to earn some money. After walking for a bit, he finally spots some slime and immediately hides in some bushes. He checks their stats and realizes that they are pretty weak, so he decides to not use his magic and simply weaken them by physical attacks. He jumps out and attacks the slime with his staff, but the slimes dodge away while one of them hits him in the chest, throwing him back. Kelvin gets up once again and rushes in for an attack, but the slime dodges and counterattacks him 3 times in a row, knocking him down to the ground. Kelvin gets up one last time and goes in for an all-out attack, swinging his staff, but the slime dodges again. Thankfully, this time, Kelvin immediately hits it with a second attack that knocks the slime to the ground, leaving it with almost no HP. Kelvin walks towards it and extends his arms, and the magic activates and the contract is made. After that, he summons the slime and names it Chloe before claiming that they are going to hunt some more slimes now. In the evening, they finally find a group of slimes and creep towards them through a bush. Kelvin tells Chloe to take care of the right one while he deals with the other. Soon they jump out of the bushes and Kelvin immediately uses his wind magic to slash through the slime, while Chloe does some fancy boxing moves before eliminating his opponent. Kelvin is confused because Chloe seems to be extremely powerful and checks the menu to realize that even at level 1 it has amazing stats. Mel reveals that this is because he is the only SS rank summoner in this world, and that's why his monsters are so powerful. While they were talking, Chloe finds another slimes and beats it to the ground, before Kelvin calls him back to his pokeball. After reaching the town, he sells the core of the slimes for some profit, and has enough money to get some food and a place to stay for the night. While crossing through an alleyway, he sees a bunch of caged, and inside of it some beautiful girls with slave collars on them. One of them is supposed to be a very rare half-elf who was caught recently. He decides to ignore this and simply walks by into an inn and gets a room for the night. Soon he goes down to have some dinner, and his life in this world starts to take shape. He goes on some more adventures, fighting against a bunch of wolves, monsters, and other demons, ready to become the strongest adventurer alive. It has been some days since Kelvin has been adventuring, and finally he has completed his 10th quest, so he goes into the guild and is upgraded to an E-rank adventurer, which seems to make a lot of people jealous. Regardless, Kelvin asks for a high-ranking job, but before the receptionist can answer, a blonde-haired dude named Cash tells him that he should take out the Black Knight. He tells him that he is a D-rank adventurer and wants Kelvin to join his party. Kelvin looks at his stats and realizes that he is lying about his rank. He declines the offer and instead claims that they should have a competition about who can defeat the Black Knight first. Cash seems to be surprised at this, but agrees to it regardless before walking out the guild. Kelvin believes that Cash might set up a trap, but decides to go in anyway so that he can test how strong he is. Cash goes out into an alleyway and meets up with his teammates, including a blue-haired nerd and a big fat brute. The brute tells Cash that he simply wants to beat someone to a pulp, and with an evil smile Cash tells him not to worry as he has already found a victim. After reaching the Black Knight's castle, Cash and his cronies run inside, but as soon as they open the door, they find that all the monsters have already been killed. Suddenly, Kelvin appears from the shadows and tells them that they are late. He claims that the Black Knight is behind the doorway, but to get to him, they will have to fight Kelvin. Cash seems to be surprised by this turn of events, but before he could think of anything, Kelvin provokes the brute by calling him a fat loser who has never seen a girl. This enrages the brute, who rushes forward, but Kelvin uses his magic to turn the ground into quicksand, which traps the fatty inside of it. Following that, Kelvin uses his wind slashes at them, but the fatty blocks it while the others barely dodge it. This freaks the nerd out, who starts running away, but Kelvin immediately summons Chloe to stop him, who has turned into a huge monster that chases the nerd back into the hall. While Kelvin was adventuring a couple days ago, Chloe started acting weird, and soon enough evolved into a giant slime monster that Mel claims to be one of the strongest summons alive, as it has the power to destroy an entire country on its own. Back in the present, Chloe smacks the nerd into a wall and knocks him out. Seeing this, the fatty uses his entire strength to get out of the mud, but is immediately grabbed by Chloe while Cash rushes towards Kelvin to attack him. Kelvin beats the crap out of them and with Chloe's help ties them up with some rope. After that, he opens the door behind him only to find a very cool looking armored knight with a giant sword. Kelvin moves forward and decides that he is going to capture the knight instead of defeating it. The knight, however, refuses to fight, and they sit down to have a conversation as the knight tells him about his story of serving different kings, and even gives him a very old piece of candy. Kelvin cuts to the chase and asks him whether he would be willing to form a contract with him, and the knight replies that he has nothing better to do, so he will agree only if Kelvin can defeat him in combat. The knight falls, and the battle begins. Kelvin runs at the knight and uses his wind slashes, but they have no effect while Chloe tries to attack him from behind. The knight easily grabs Chloe and stops it from attacking while Kelvin runs at him and uses earth magic to create a distraction for Chloe to escape. Soon the knight uses an aerial slash that Kelvin barely dodges before he himself uses an earth splitter that has no effect on the knight. The knight uses another air slash that Kelvin dodges while Chloe engages him in a massive clash, totally distracting him and giving Kelvin the opportunity to use a trap. He uses a special magic that creates increased gravity around the knight and he is forced to the ground. Kelvin thinks that he won the battle, but the knight knocks off his magic before rushing towards him and delivering very strong slashes that Kelvin barely manages to dodge by using his earth magic. The knight closes the distance incredibly quickly and tries to finish the job, but Kelvin uses his gravity spell once again, slowing the knight down, while Chloe appears in front of him and uses his solar beam to blast him away. The next morning, Kelvin goes inside the guild carrying the broken helm of the Black Knight that gets a lot of praise, as he also captured Cash and his gang red-handed, who are now put in prison for their crimes. He later climbs the stairs towards his room, and it is revealed that he was successfully able to forge a contract with the Dark Knight as well. He moves towards his room to get some much-deserved rest when he suddenly notices an old man who seems to be waiting for him. The old man introduces himself as Leo T. Guildmaster and without wasting a single moment, straight up asks Kelvin whether he is from another world or not. This shocks Kelvin, who immediately checks his stats to find out that Leo is pretty high ranked and can probably see who he actually is. They sit down for some tea while Leo tells Kelvin that the receptionist told him that not only did he capture Cash and his gang red-handed, but he also defeated the Black Knight alone. He then tells Kelvin that he knows that Kelvin is a summoner. He is shocked once again and thinks whether he can lie about his identity, but both Mel and the knight tell him that he can't stay hidden forever. This gives him some confidence, and he calmly reveals that indeed he is the summoner, as it is no point hiding it any further. He then questions Leo in return, claiming that he should have been able to figure out that Cash and his gang were criminals. So why didn't he stop them? He calmly replies that Cash belongs to a noble family of a neighboring kingdom, and that's why he was out of his jurisdiction without any hard evidence. Leo then tells Kelvin to rest easy, as he is not here to be his enemy, and would rather be his friend. Leo reveals that he has met people from another world before as well, and some of them are the heroes of a neighboring kingdom. Mel suddenly remembers about reincarnating them as well and promises to give the details to him later. Leo claims that there was a prophecy recently, and it was said that the Demon King is going to be revived soon, and that is the reason why the monsters around the area are growing so violent and strong. He tells Kelvin that he wants him to defend the city against the common monsters while the heroes deal with the Demon King himself. Kelvin asks what he will get in return, and Leo replies that he will increase his adventurer's rank personally, and he will be free to take any jobs he wants. Moreover, they will provide as much support as they can, and apart from that he will never reveal his secret to anyone and provide him complete freedom. He agrees to the arrangement and is immediately ranked up to a B-grade adventurer. He goes back to the inn and gets some lunch before asking Mel about the story of the heroes that were reincarnated before him. Mel informs him that not long ago Truck-kun decided to strike and deleted 4 more guys and girls from Japan, so she decided to reincarnate them into this world as heroes that will fight against the Demon King. Soon after, he finishes his lunch and takes out the money he saved before going outside. Mel asks what is he planning to do with so much money, and he excitedly replies that he is going to buy a slave. He walks past the same street and notices all the cages assembled there just like before, when suddenly a man rushes past him completely covered in flames, while the trader quickly put out the flames. The man seemed to be a customer who gets mad at the trader and leaves. The trader explains that one of her slaves seems to have a curse that burns anyone that touches her, and when Kelvin looks past him, he is shocked to see that it is none other than the half-elf girl. He checks her stats and decides to buy her from the slaver. The trader seems to be shocked at this and tells him again that she has a curse, but Kelvin doesn't care and gives him the money before taking her out. The girl seems to be scared and in bounds but starts following him regardless. Some time later, he turns around and tries to touch her, but the girl backs off, claiming that she has a curse and that she doesn't want to hurt anyone. Kelvin calmly tells her not to worry, and gently touches her head before using his SS rank magic to dispel the curse that was placed upon her. The girl is shocked to know that she is not cursed anymore and breaks down into tears, thanking Kelvin for this kindness, and introduces herself as Ethel, who was sold into slavery as soon as she was born. He tells her not to worry as now he will keep her safe, and takes her back to the inn before asking the cute fat lady to make them some food. The lady seems to be skeptical about the girl, but when Kelvin tells her that she is a slave that he brought, she takes her into the bathroom with her to thoroughly clean her, while Kelvin waits at the table for some food. After some time, the lady returns back with Ethel, who is now dressed in a maid's outfit. They have their dinner and return back to the room where Kelvin explains everything to her and shows her his other summons. They check her stats and upgrade her levels, and soon the night falls and they all decide to get some well-deserved sleep for the adventures tomorrow. It has been a couple of months since Kelvin started adventuring, and now they are able to work in a much more coordinated fashion. Ethel ended up maxing out her archery skills, and alongside her flame magic, she is able to deliver lethal blows to enemies with a single strike, which helps their team a lot as Kelvin, Chloe and Greer the Night all use melee weapons, and she is the only one who could use ranged attacks. After taking care of a monstrous tree, they return back to the guild where the receptionist congratulates them, as after only one quest, Kelvin will be raised to a ranked adventurer while Ethel can get her B rank card. She tells them to get ready for the exam, but tells Ethel not to worry, as the last time when she gave the exam, she used her invisibility and was easily able to defeat the instructor to gain her C rank card. While there, the receptionist named Ange ends up inviting both him and Ethel to a sweet shop that just opened, and they agree to it. The next morning they go down to the market and seem to be having a good time, tasting sweets, when suddenly a group of rowdy nobles arrive and kick their table away. Kelvin asks what the hell is their problem, and one of the cronies yells that he is standing in front of the third prince of the neighboring country. The fat fucking prince decides to shit-talk Kelvin and tells him to hand over the girls for a day or two if he wants forgiveness. Enraged by this, Kelvin moves forward and blasts away one of the purple-haired crony into the wall, terrifying the fatty before doing the same to the other guy, leaving the ugly bastard alone. He then moves towards the prince and uses his gravity magic to bind him in place while asking him what he is doing in this country. The prince refuses to answer, which leads to him getting forced to the ground even more. Soon the fat ugly guy spits the information, saying that he is here to meet with the guildmaster named Leo, as he heard that there is a new adventurer who is extremely strong and is currently using this guild as his base. He claims that he wants the adventurer to serve him so that he can win some glory and be seen as someone worthy for the throne. Kelvin tells him that he is the adventurer and he will never work for someone as pathetic and fat as him. Following that, they return back to the guild to get some sleep. The next morning, Mel tells them some news, as she recently got information about what the heroes have been doing, and she gives Kelvin the stats to check them out. Kelvin remarks that the heroes seem to be severely underleveled, considering that they were reincarnated a year ago. Mel tells him that this can be problematic, as the demon lord might get revived soon and the heroes are not nearly strong enough to take him on. Compared to them, Kelvin and his party have only been here for a little more than a month, but they are already much stronger and have advanced weaponry as well. While they were checking out their weapons, the lady of the inn knocks their door and tells Kelvin that Leo wanted to talk to him. Kelvin goes over to the guild where Leo tells him that recently a bunch of adventurers found a secret room inside of a D-rank cave, and the secret room seemed to house an extremely strong demon that can be S-rank. This shocks Kelvin as he has never fought against such a strong opponent, but there is no one in this guild who can take this challenge head-on, so he accepts the quest. Later that day, Kelvin and his party finally arrive at the location only to find Erd, the instructor who took Ethel's exam, standing there. He greets them and asks whether they are here to solve the quest, and Kelvin asks about any developments. Erd honestly reveals that they have no idea how strong this demon might be, so he has created a protective barrier around the cave so that no one gets accidentally hurt. He leads them into a small shack that has a trapdoor from where Kelvin and his party descend downstairs. They walk through the dark and dingy caves that look very scary, but surprisingly enough, he doesn't seem to feel the presence of any life forms in the area. They keep walking before reaching a huge gate where Kelvin tells them to stop because now he can feel the presence of not only one but two demons inside the room. They all get ready and open the giant door to see a room full of skulls with no lights. They keep moving forward when they suddenly notice a demonic girl bound on top of an altar. This surprises Kelvin, but before he could think of anything, a voice is heard behind them and they turn around to see a demon who introduces himself as Archdemon Victor. A chill goes down Kelvin's back as he realizes that this demon is definitely S-rank, but he maintains his composure and asks him who the girl is. Victor simply closes the door shut and the room lights up completely. He then claims that the girl on the altar is the daughter of the previous demon lord. This is very shocking news, as even Mel didn't know that the last demon lord had a daughter. Victor continues that he killed every single monster in this area so that any human can easily reach this room, and without any further talk, attacks Kelvin head-on. Thankfully, Gerard blocks the hit with his shield but is pushed back because of his overwhelming power. Kelvin immediately uses his gravity spell to hold him in place and asks what he wants from them. Victor reveals that he has a seal placed on him and only humans can remove the seal. Once his seal is removed, he will devour the daughter of the Demon King and become the strongest demon alive and the next demon lord. With that, he breaks free of the gravity spell and gets ready to kill Kelvin and his party, but instead of being scared, Kelvin is overflowing with excitement, as he has never faced such a strong enemy before. Victor is confused to see that Kelvin seems excited rather than scared, so he uses a black magic spell and creates a bunch of undead monsters that rise up from the skulls and attack our heroes. Kelvin immediately uses his wind slash to deal with these monsters while Gerard smacks them left and right with his sword, but tells Kelvin that their numbers could be a problem if they are not careful. After that, he uses his special aerial slash to delete a bunch of monsters, but they seem to be multiplying faster than Indians as they keep attacking our heroes while they destroy them one by one. Victor seems to be pretty surprised and impressed by their performance as they attack in perfect synergy. Kelvin walks towards him and asks whether he would like to fight now, and hearing this, Victor simply laughs and punches the ground to create a smoke cloud covering everything. Kelvin tells Gerard to calm down as the demon seems to be underground, and as soon as he tries to attack, Gerard is able to block it with his shield, shocking Victor. Gerard follows up with another attack, but Victor escapes before attacking Kelvin, who dodges the strike. Victor again appears in front of the Black Knight and they engage in a fierce duel, but by the end of it, Victor is able to overpower him and blows him away. Kelvin gets a little worried, but before he could think, one of the demon hands attack him and he is forced to block and dodge out of the way. Before he can regain his balance, Victor appears behind him and tries to attack, but thankfully, Chloe appears and blocks the attack, saving Kelvin's life. Surprised by the appearance of a new summon, Victor tries to blow Chloe away, but he dodges out of the way, while Kelvin uses this distraction to apply a binding magic on the demon, holding one of his hands. Gerard runs up to him and is ready to attack, but Kelvin stops him just as Victor uses his strength to break through the binds. Kelvin immediately applies a magic buff to Gerard's sword and tells him to attack, but Victor merely smiles as his hand is already behind Kelvin, ready to attack. Kelvin suddenly tells Ethel to reveal herself, and to Victor's shock, she appears right behind him with a fully charged arrow and shoots it. Victor is somehow able to bring back his hand and blocks the hit, taking an insane amount of damage, while Gerard uses this distraction to strike and chops away one of his arms. Kelvin tells everyone to back off, as the demon starts laughing maniacally and claims that he is going to take his final form. and soon his body starts transforming into a huge demon. Kelvin quickly tries to finish him off before he could transform and uses an earth splitter alongside a flaming arrow and Gerard's aerial slashes, but they are a bit too late as Victor transforms into his final form, and his armor easily blocks the damage. Victor immediately rushes towards the party while Kelvin creates a wall which is easily broken, but Gerard intercepts the attack at the last moment and uses all of his strength to push him back. This doesn't seem to be enough as the demon quickly overpowers him and beats him to the ground and gets ready to deliver the final blow, but is shot at by Ethel, who distracts him with a constant barrage of arrows, giving Gerard an opportunity to get back on his feet and attack Victor. Gerard unleashes a huge combo of sword slashes, but Victor is surprisingly quick and is able to dodge and block all of them. Suddenly Ethel starts shooting at him once again, and while he was busy dealing with her, Chloe appears in front of him and shoots a buttload of cursed swords at him that push him down. Kelvin takes advantage of this situation and uses one of his most powerful spells accompanied by Ethel's blazing arrows and Chloe's solar beam. This combination of magic hits him square on the chest and he is blasted into the wall, which creates a huge tremor and some part of the roof starts collapsing on them. To Kelvin's surprise, Victor uses his body to block one of the huge boulders that was going to fall over the Demon King's daughter, and after that he collapses on the ground, utterly defeated. Kelvin walks up to him and asks why the hell did he try to save the girl, and finally he reveals the truth. He explains that he was one of the most trusted follower of the previous Demon Lord and was tasked to keep the existence of his daughter a secret as it might put her in danger from the heroes or some other enemies. Victor taught her how to fight, how to read, and everything else in this very castle, which is now a dungeon. Sadly, the day of reckoning came and the humans arrived with the heroes, completely outnumbering the demons. Knowing that there was no way to escape this, the Demon Lord gave him one final task of making sure that his daughter survives and put a seal on her which can only be broken by a kind-hearted human. While taking his last breath, Victor requests Kelvin to take the girl into her party and show her the world, as all she has ever seen is death and destruction. After uttering these final words, he passes away, while Kelvin walks up to the altar and breaks the seal that brings the girl out of her coma. She seems to know what was happening and immediately starts crying while Kelvin tries his best to comfort her. After a while, they all walk out of the dungeon to find Erd waiting for them. He asks what happened inside and Kelvin lies that the girl on his back was possessed by a demon, but they were able to slay the demon and save her. He then gives him a piece of Victor's armor and tells him that this is the proof that they killed the demon, and with that they quickly move out from the area to sit atop a mountain. He knows that if anyone gets to know that not only is this girl a demon, but the daughter of the Demon Lord herself, it could be a huge problem. She seems to have calmed down by now and introduces herself as Sira. She asks whether he is sure that he wants a demon in his party, but Kelvin obviously can't pass a chance of creating a harem and tapping some demon ass. She claims that it is incredibly impressive that he was able to defeat Victor, who was one of the strongest demons in his time, and asks who exactly is he. Kelvin replies that he isn't any hero, but just a common adventurer who enjoys battle. After that he asks whether she is ready to go with him, but she is a little scared as she has never left the mansion before, let alone visit a town. Thankfully Ethel and the others comfort her and explain how amazing it is going to be, and soon she is ready to come with them.